Thinking about Shangri-La Frontier episode 13, I don't think I've ever seen a video game based anime do what they just did with this AI, this character, this NPC, Setsuna, because well, there's been realistic video game characters, even like outside of them being trapped in a video game in plenty of series. I think the way the dialogue was handled and just the outfit, everything about this character, I don't think I've ever seen a NPC who seemingly is an NPC feel this mysterious, this ominous, and this realistic without trapping characters in a video game and then in return the world kind of becomes real for them. Because this is a video game through and through. They slap on a headset, they put in their little memory cards, and they go play a video game. And while plenty of characters, Emil, feel like a living and breathing person, to see this character sit there with this modern getup, they don't feel like they're in a fantasy video game, as Sunraku even says. But it's the way the dialogue is phrased, talking about how programming and then catching yourself and then talking about spells. While at the start when they're picking the quest line, or at least the unique scenario pops up and they accept it, they do talk about, and they pretty much say that this is going to be like a very interesting scenario. While clearly the programmers of this video game made something that has a character that has a very interesting plotline, it's just fascinating to see something like this occur because, once again, if VR was to this point, why wouldn't a programmer potentially have a character in said quest line that makes you second guess, wait a second, was this a real person at some point, and just make your mind wander? Because I doubt they're going to go the route of, oh, someone who was actually in the video game died in real life and blah blah blah. No, this doesn't seem to be that type of show, and I'm quite thankful for that, to be honest. But I like the idea that every time I see more about these unique scenarios and how things spiral and evolve and just unique paths occur for each of these characters, I'm so thankful we get to watch an anime with this high quality of a production, this well of an understanding of game design. It makes me say, I don't think I've ever seen something like this, or at least quite like this before in anime, but I'm so happy that Shangri-La is going to be my first experience for something quite like this, because honestly, why do other video game anime even try at this point? Now, I do a full live reaction to today's wonderful episode over on my Patreon. If you'd like to see my full and cut thoughts over there if you're interested. Now, this was kind of a setup episode, kind of getting the ball moving, getting the characters a bit more leveled up, but most importantly, having this really interesting conversation, seeing them talk with a character who very much is fascinating. We get to see a bit of Sunraku's personal life, and really, it's just about progressing these characters outside their comfort zones, but most importantly, showing us why this is such a great show. You can have a slower episode with no real action. There's a little bit. We do pop back into that glitchy video game, and we get a little tad taste of an action scene, but for the most part, it's driven by character interactions, and it's absolutely fantastic. The first half of this episode is pretty much basically, okay, our girl's taking us to meet up with Setsuna, who's just this spirit, chilling under a tree. We have, I think they're spider lilies, such a beautiful environment. This feels like if you're playing like a Neo or something, a Sekiro, like it just feels like this is where you'd be fighting a boss, right? You know, the beautiful red flower lily, just the lilies just sprinkling into the winds. It's just such a beautiful scene, and just the way she talks and then how we get this unique situation pop up. They both accept the quest line. And just listening to this, the fact that she is Weatherman's basically dead wife. Apparently there was a slight misunderstanding shortly after she died, and now he is the guardian of her grave. I love the idea because this is another example of someone understanding game design. I feel like there's these shows that I've seen where, you know, it's quote unquote based on a video game, but nothing about the environments really feel game design. A video game has locations that change based on weather or situations or events. Do you have the right item? This location changes. The idea that a certain day of the month, a certain day of the week, you'll see her here and it's this beautiful environment, but any other day of the week, it will be him guarding this tree and things like that. Those are the little moments that make this actually feel like a game. It's not just, oh, here's a video game UI and video game-esque teleporting of items into hands. That's what a lot of these authors do, but every time I watch more of these episodes, I'm just like, this is actually someone who gets game design, and that's important, because when the characters are talking about how this is the greatest video game they've ever played, we have a character who used to drag NPCs by the ankles and just brutally kill them, going from that to saying, I relate to this NPC so hard that I want to let her rest in peace and pass on peacefully. The fact that you have characters jumping that much from their original programming for them, their beliefs and behaviors, You have to make the viewer equally convinced that this video game is that realistic or it's that fun, and that's what every episode does. And while as much as I love seeing Shangri-La and seeing the video game world that they play and love so much, I honestly really enjoyed the family stuff that we got, because often when you see kind of anime families, well, there's usually a couple of good characters you like seeing, like usually the sister's bratty, or maybe the mom's really loving, or the dad's just kind of whatever. Immediately I just kind of vibed with them. It's such a simple idea, but like the character designs, they actually feel like a family. They don't feel like a carbon cut and paste of a previous anime family. It helps that they have a different hair color than you're typically used to, but even their features, the fact that they all have their individual passions, right? Sunraku plays his games, his sister's into fashion, the mom's into bugs, and the dad's a big fisherman. And I love the idea of just saying like every Sunday they have a rule that they eat dinner together on that day, so that no matter how much their passions are taking up their time, they always make time for each other. It feels like, yeah, they might butt heads a little like any family would, but they feel like a genuine family. And just that little moment, I don't need to see it every episode or every other episode, but it was nice to get that in the middle of an episode that I was like, are they going to rush into this big boss fight? But no, instead they took their time and let this be an establishing episode. And for that, I'm quite thankful. And one of the things that I knew about Shangri-La Frontier before watching it was that apparently they play multiple video games, which was something that interests me, because I'm thinking, okay, if they have this like really cool VR MMO RPG, why would they be playing other video games? Like, what would be the reasoning? And I love the idea that sometimes for Sunraku, it's just about playing a buggy video game because he still enjoys that stuff. Or in this case, he's reached the level he needs to be for the boss fight, but he needs to hone his skills, because skills are going to be the most important. And a game where it's literally designed around bugs, or at least, well, it wasn't designed around it, but the players pretty much made it as such, is a great way to hone your craft, and we get a little bit with this character, and it's honestly really fun for that, and I'm excited to see where they take it. Without a single doubt in my mind, I think Shangri-La Frontier was one of my biggest surprises of this anime season, and I'm so happy it's carrying into next, because while I do expect to enjoy anime like this, I'm not always expecting to love anime like this. I'm expecting to be like, oh, yeah, that's probably going to be fun for an action scene, but I don't really give a shit about the characters, or I think the game world is just very bare bones. But here, I'm just like, why can't I play this? Why can't I strap in my headset? And I love the idea that even just like the little moments with the mom being like, okay, we get this moment where Sunraku basically is like, yeah, okay, I'm going to log into my game more often because I don't want you to unplug my system again. And just the fact that it's not toxic or anything, it's just like genuine, like, okay, as much as I love my video game, we do got to make time for family. We do got to make sure I'm eating properly. It's just really nice. And in doing so, we get that kind of confirmation of why our girl is so interested in Setsuna, because she therefore sees herself kind of almost as a mirror of what's happening with her IRL, and also what basically has happened with, you know, Setsuna in the game sort of a thing. It's just really nice content overall, but let me know what you thought, because we do have a 1-week break just because of the New Year's and everything, but we will be carrying this show into next season, so let me know what you're feeling down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more to the channel. Like I mentioned, we had that full live reaction over on my Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Spectra, Luke, Tech Knight, JJR10, Monty7, Buwanake, Monica Lazuria, Kyle Kowalchuk, Alton Johnson, and George. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.